In the 60th minute of a goalless World Cup quarter-final, Adrien Rabiot reached for the ball. And what happened in that fraction of a second set off a chain of events that is still reverberating around the football world. The ball struck Rabiot's arm. Moroccan players stopped and raised their hands immediately, pointing at the French midfielder, pointing at the referee, pointing at the VAR screen on the edge of the pitch. The protest was instant, visible, and unanimous. The referee let play continue. Seconds later, the ball reached Kylian Mbappé. His finish curled around a Moroccan defender and into the far corner of the net. France were ahead. The goal stood. And in Boston, on the 9th of July 2026, Morocco's World Cup was effectively over. But the moment that ended Morocco's tournament was not the goal itself. It was the silence that preceded it, the silence of a VAR system that did not intervene, the silence of a referee who did not walk to the monitor, the silence of a governing body that had promised just days earlier that additional measures had been taken to ensure the integrity of this very match. And that silence has produced one of the loudest debates this entire World Cup has generated. This is the story of the handball VAR did not check, and why, in the context of everything that has happened at this tournament, it carries a weight that goes far beyond the result on the scoreboard. To understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to understand the atmosphere surrounding this match before a single ball had been kicked. FIFA had been under sustained, documented, formally filed pressure for days. Egypt's official complaint naming the referee and VAR crew from their Argentina match. 72 members of the European Parliament demanding an investigation into FIFA's governance. UEFA describing a disciplinary decision as unprecedented and incomprehensible. The entire institutional fabric of the tournament's credibility under the most serious challenge it has faced in a decade. And FIFA, aware of the temperature, had taken what it described as additional measures ahead of the France-Morocco quarterfinal. A specific, documented decision to enhance the scrutiny around this particular match. The appointment that came with those additional measures stopped the football world. Immediately, Facundo Tello of Argentina was named as the head referee. His assistants, fourth official and reserve assistant, were all named alongside him, 5 officials, all Argentine nationals, making this the first match in the entire 2026 World Cup to feature a complete officiating team drawn from a single country. FIFA's post confirming the appointment was viewed 20 million times on the platform, formerly known as Twitter, in fewer than 10 hours. The context that drove those numbers was impossible to miss. Egypt's victory over Argentina had been overseen by a French referee. Egypt's complaint about that match was still formally unresolved, and now France versus Morocco was to be overseen by an entirely Argentine crew. The reaction across the football world was immediate and pointed. Morocco had eliminated the Netherlands in the round of 32. They had come from a continent that had seen Egypt file the most significant formal referee complaint of the tournament, and the memory of the 2022 World Cup semi-final, where Morocco believed they had been denied at least 2 genuine penalty appeals against the same opponent in the same round, had never fully faded for the Atlas Lions supporters. Against that backdrop, the pressure on Tello and his crew to manage this match without controversy was arguably greater than any officiating team had faced at any point in this tournament. And then came the 60th minute. Rabiot moved for the ball in midfield. Replays circulated within minutes of the goal being celebrated showed the ball making contact with the French midfielder. The Moroccan players were in no doubt. Their protests began before Mbappé had finished his celebration. Head coach Mohamed Wabi and his staff were animated on the touchline.
VAR reviewed every goal. That was the principle Pierluigi Collina himself had restated publicly in the days before this match. Every goal is reviewed by VAR, Collina had said, and any infringement detected during the attacking phase can trigger a review, even if it occurred several seconds before the ball crossed the line. That principle had been applied, at considerable cost, against Egypt, the goal disallowed for a foul occurring approximately 25 seconds before the finish, a foul on the opposite side of the pitch, a foul invisible to every broadcast camera at real speed, confirmed only by VAR's review of the buildup. In Boston, in the 60th minute, with replays clearly showing the ball making contact with a French player's arm in the immediate buildup to a goal that broke a goalless match wide open, VAR did not intervene. Morocco coach Mohamed Awabi sat down in the post-match press conference and placed photographic evidence on the table in front of him, printed images, frame by frame, the ball on Rabiot's arm, evidence that he felt was sufficient to have justified a review at absolute minimum. His words about the incident were specific and controlled, the language of a man who understood that the wrong phrasing at a World Cup press conference could have consequences beyond football. He criticized VAR for failing to review the potential handball. He said the goal should have been disallowed, and he did so while simultaneously praising France's quality, with a generosity that underlined just how carefully he was choosing his words. "We have to recognize that they are a great team," Awabi said. "They have excellent players and had better goal-scoring opportunities. We lacked ideas and freshness. We have to accept this defeat." That acknowledgement matters, because Morocco's coach was not claiming his team would have won had the goal been disallowed. He was not disputing France's superiority across large portions of the match. He was making a narrower, more specific point, that a moment occurred in this match that met the threshold for VAR review by the standards FIFA had publicly stated, and that VAR did not review it. Refereeing analyst Juan Guzman, speaking after the match, offered the technical explanation FIFA would subsequently rely on. The handball, in his assessment, was incidental. There was no intention from Rabiot. His arm was in a natural position. The contact did not directly and meaningfully alter the trajectory of the ball in a way that created a goal-scoring opportunity. Under the specific definition of handball in the laws of the game, an unintentional handball that does not directly lead to a goal or goal-scoring opportunity does not require the goal to be disallowed. It is a technically defensible position. The handball laws have been revised multiple times across recent years precisely to restore the element of intent and natural arm position to the decision-making framework. And if the analysis concludes that Rabiot's arm was in a natural position and the contact was genuinely accidental, the correct decision under those laws is to allow the goal to stand. But here is where the debate refuses to resolve itself cleanly. The same VAR system that determined Rabiot's handball was incidental and required no review spent several minutes reviewing a foul committed 25 seconds before Egypt's goal, a foul on the opposite side of the pitch, in a different phase of play, by a different player against a different team. If the principle that governs handball is that accidental contact in a natural position does not require the goal to be disallowed, the same principle of intent and natural movement was available to apply to the challenge on Lisandro Martinez during Egypt's attack. And if the standard for reviewing the build-up to Mbappe's goal stretched back 25 seconds and across the width of the pitch, it is reasonable to ask why the standard for reviewing the build-up to Mbappe's goal did not encompass a moment of arm contact in the immediate passage of play that produced it.
These two things cannot both be the correct application of the same set of rules. Either the standard is broad enough to encompass Egypt's disallowed goal, in which case it is broad enough to have prompted a VAR review of Rabiot's handball, or the standard is narrow enough to excuse Rabiot's handball, in which case it was too narrow to disallow Egypt's goal. The consistency question is not going away. And at a World Cup where that question has already produced formal complaints, parliamentary investigations, and institutional challenges from Europe's football governing body, the Rabiot handball has arrived at precisely the wrong moment for FIFA's credibility. There is also a broader dimension to this story that Morocco's supporters feel with particular intensity. This is the second time the Atlas Lions have reached a World Cup quarterfinal or beyond and ended their campaign against France amid refereeing controversy. In 2022, their semi-final defeat saw multiple strong penalty claims go unreviewed. The specific decisions were different, the circumstance of losing to the same opponent in the same round with the same sense of having been on the wrong side of a significant officiating moment carries a weight that statistics alone cannot fully capture. For a nation that has twice in 4 years demonstrated that it belongs among the genuine elite of world football, the question is no longer whether Morocco can compete at this level. The Atlas Lions have answered that question definitively. The question that their supporters are asking with increasing force and increasing documentation is whether the framework governing the matches in which they compete applies to them in the same way it applies to everyone else. Ousmane Dembélé added France's second goal later in the match, a powerful strike from outside the box that clipped Yassine Bouno's fingers before finding the net. The scoreline finished 2-0. France move forward to a semifinal that may yet produce a rematch with Argentina. Morocco go home for the second consecutive World Cup as the best African nation in the tournament's history, and for the second consecutive World Cup as a team whose exit has been accompanied by questions about the decisions that shaped it. France's quality throughout this tournament has been genuine and impressive. Mbappé leads the Golden Boot race with 8 goals. Deschamps has constructed a squad that plays with the kind of collective intelligence and individual brilliance that legitimate contenders for the title possess. Nothing about Morocco's complaints changes the reality of France's footballing excellence. But football's credibility does not rest on the quality of the team that wins. It rests on the certainty that the rules governing every match are applied consistently, transparently, and without distinction between the team that history expects to win and the team that history does not. Morocco deserved that certainty in Boston on the 9th of July. The question this tournament keeps refusing to answer is whether they received it.